West Ham Network, it's Holly and I am here with your Hammers headlines for today, Tuesday the 29th of August. This is of course run in collaboration with the brilliant guys at kumb.com, so make sure you check them out. Without further ado, let's jump straight into today's Hammers headlines. Up first, we are waiting to hear whether or not we have managed to strike a deal for Brazilian striker Yuri Alberto. Tim Stuyton is out in Brazil working his magic and is expected to report back after watching him in what could well be Alberto's final game for Corinthians. This game takes place at 1:30 a.m, technically tomorrow morning for us. So we could have an update before too long, maybe even when we wake up, you don't know. So it's thought that there is a small difference in value between what they are looking price-wise for him and what we want to pay for the striker, but it's not a groundbreaking amount, so it's looking unlikely that it's going to be a deal breaker, which is obviously good news. While we were initially exploring the option, however, for a loan deal, it's now been reported that this is no longer possible, with a permanent move being the only option. This is probably another reason that Stuyton wants to see the player in action before making a decision. We've spoken about it loads of times. We struggle to settle strikers, so we need a very specific type of striker. So it's important that we do everything we can and all the background checks we can to see how suitable he would be and what Stuyton can physically see that he could bring to our team, which I definitely rate. I would rather we do our due diligence rather than just bring someone in. But would you like to see Alberto join the Hammers as our next signing? I'm still not 100% convinced and think there are other options, but I have full trust in Stuyton and the team. And if they see promise, then I am all for it. But drop us a comment with your thoughts and let us know what you think. For your second story, an unnamed team in the Saudi Pro League has approached West Ham about the signing of Pablo Fornals. This was apparently a verbal inquiry, so nothing written, but they will now be deciding whether or not they will go through with a written offer. The deadline for Saudi transfers is actually September the 20th, meaning we don't need to rush to any decision, as a sale could still take place well after our transfer window closes, meaning we could focus on incoming business before we need to worry about whether we get rid of Fornals and how much for. As we've spoken about previously, Fornals brings a lot to our side. We've seen what he does in terms of morale. We've seen what he can do when he comes off the bench. And he's actually been unlucky in that it's just difficult to know who we currently start ahead of. But he's an incredible player and also arguably too good to be sat on a bench for most of the season. When we bought him in 2019 from Villarreal, we paid £24 million for him, and it's expected that the Saudi club will be willing to pay enough for us to make a profit on him. There are also other clubs reportedly keeping a close eye on Pablo, so there's a good chance that official bids will be received in the coming days. That said, we don't have to sell Fornals. He's in his final year of his contract, but the club has an option to extend his deal until 2025 if we want to. And in my opinion, I really don't want to lose Pablo. I think he's brilliant. I think he brings so much to the team. And I think we want a bench full of amazing players. The difficulty is obviously convincing him that there is still a place for him and that he is still going to have opportunities to play. And it's not necessarily a terrible thing to be sat on our bench, but that is a big shift in mindset, because currently players want to play or go elsewhere. So hopefully we can convince him. He's got an amazing work ethic as well. It seems like he works really hard behind the scenes. He's never hurt as well that he's not the first choice. He's happy to be a sub, but I can see from his perspective why he would be in a bit of a rush to get some game time. But again, let us know what you think in the comments. Should we sell Fornals for a profit, or would you prefer to keep him in the hope that we can convince him to extend his contract? For me, I'd play the long game, keep him and see what we can do. And last but not least, West Ham are apparently set to discuss a deal to re-sign Jesse Lingard after the window closes, according to Darmesh. He said that initial talks have already taken place and Lingard's team would be open to agreeing a short-term deal. We saw that the 30-year-old was training at Rush Green earlier in the window, which definitely split opinion. But it is pretty common for free agents to return to their former clubs so that they can stay active, get some training in, help the team out. But it obviously also makes it a lot easier to keep lines of communication open. Now, when Lingard chose to not return to West Ham after a very good time here, we know it rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way before he then went on to score 0 goals and get 0 assists in 17 league appearances for Nottingham Forest. But it could be due to the team setup, because we know he was very effective at West Ham and apparently has been working hard behind the scenes and really trying to get back in. Just as a reminder, he scored 9 goals and got 5 assists in 16 Premier League appearances back in the 2020-21 season. Obviously, brilliant stats. So should we be able to get him again for a bargain? Could this be an option that benefits us and also gives us more options for squad rotation? Quite possibly. Plus, it would add to our list of homegrown talent. And for anybody that hasn't seen Russ's video from this morning and wants to learn more about homegrown requirements, it's definitely worth a watch. I'm sure you'll learn a lot, and I really enjoyed it. The great news about this one, though, is that we don't need to rush again, and we can focus our efforts elsewhere for now. This is because he is obviously a free agent, meaning the deadline does not apply to Lingard. And it's thought that the deal discussions would take place completely after the close of the actual transfer window. So we could see him added as a last-minute addition to the team. Would you take Lingard now? And if so, under what circumstances? Is it an absolute bargain of the century that you'd need to pull it off? Would you still pay a decent amount? Would it be bringing down the weekly wages? What would you want to see happen for Lingard to play for us? And do you think he's a good option? Obviously, he's now 30. We have seen that he did play well for us, but we were a very different team at the time. So anything could happen. So there we go. Before I go as well, one more breaking news story that appeared just as I was about to hit record. According to Fabrizio Romano, Man City are on the verge of agreeing a deal to sign former West Ham centre-back Jamal Baptiste on a free transfer after he left the Hammers earlier this summer on a free. So there we go. That is all from me for today. Make sure you tell us what you think about the stories in the comments. Hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. And until next time, have a great day. Come on, you Irons.